Hey bro, what's up? Big patch just landed and it's packed with stuff you're gonna want to hear about. The update rolled out on February 18th, 2026, and it's being billed as the final major content drop for the base game. The update brought permanent 10-star arch-tempered versions of a handful of previous endgame threats. Monsters like Raydao, Uthduna, New Udra, and Jin Dahad. And those fights are tuned to be about the most brutal mechanical tests the game currently offers. For people chasing top-tier charms, emblems, and the best late-game materials, this is where a lot of the new grind will live. On the quality of life front, there's a surprising amount of small changes that actually add up. They added more pop-up camps, so moving around zones during a hunt isn't as punishing, and there's a refresh button for the SOS flare list so you don't have to mash through stale lobbies when you just want to join a live hunt. Bowling got a tiny buff too, more voucher uses and faster interactions, which sounds silly until you realize how many people enjoy the little side distractions between big fights. There's also a new special environment quest that unlocks after certain prerequisites, which feeds into the idea that the update left a few things hidden behind progression paths, so latecomers still get a sense of discovery. If you care about cosmetics and collabs, there's a Monster Hunter Stories 3 crossover mission tucked in as a side mission, with themed Palico and Monstie cosmetics and pendants to collect. It's the kind of light, free crossover content that's easy to farm and looks neat in screenshots. The update also rolled in winners from a community design contest as craftable items, which is always a fun way to see player creativity reflected in the game world. In addition, Capcom dropped a character and Palico edit voucher for players to tweak appearances, which is the kind of small goodwill move that matters if you've been grinding for months and want to freshen up your look. Now, the technical side is huge and probably the most meaningful part for a lot of players. The patch focuses heavily on performance and stability improvements. The devs made a bunch of optimizations to reduce both CPU and GPU load, adding internal levels of detail for 3D models so distant objects use lighter resources, optimizing monster and endemic lifespawn processing to cut down on CPU spikes, and even implemented effect caching to avoid constantly regenerating identical visual effects. They also tuned rendering paths and made a variety of smaller engine tweaks designed to smooth framerate drops and reduce stutters during hectic fights. If you've been on PC or older consoles and felt the game dip under load during huge fights or densely populated scenes, these changes are exactly the kind of adjustments that can make the experience feel more stable and less like fighting the hardware, as well as the monster. The patch didn't ignore the recurring events and login goodies either. To celebrate the anniversary window, Seasonal Festival of Accord content returns on rotation, and there's a Hunter Appreciation Pack, plus a bundle of login rewards aimed at making sure returning players have a few extra toys to play with. Some event quests that were once time-limited have been converted into permanent availability, which is great for completionists or people who missed a week of events and wanted another crack at exclusive drops without relying on the event calendar. One thing I should highlight is the messaging about the future. This update is explicitly framed as the final big patch for the base game, as the team shifts focus to a large-scale expansion, the kind of add-on that historically brings new regions, new monsters, and massive mid-to-late game systems. Capcom's producer has already teased that they're working on something akin to the big expansions we saw in previous titles, so consider this patch part send-off and part bridge to whatever the expansion will bring later this year. There are also tons of smaller bug fixes and balance adjustments sprinkled throughout the changelog, tweaks to monster behavior, UI refinements, quest text fixes, and multiplayer stability patches. These aren't the flashy headlines, but if you play a range of weapons and modes, you'll probably notice fewer weird animation glitches, fewer odd despawns, and generally more consistent behavior in fights and hunts. The team appears to have focused on smoothing the experience across the board rather than launching brand new systems, which makes sense for a patch that's meant to consolidate the base game's state before an expansion. So yeah, the update is a mix of endgame cruelty for players who like that, practical QOL changes for regular play, and technical housekeeping that should make the whole package run better for more people. It's one of those patches that reads like a love letter to the existing player base. Final content drops, events, collabs, and the engineering work to make fights feel more consistent, and sets the table for something bigger on the horizon.